Hello everybody and welcome to Solhom Spotlights. This is the Fermi Paradox. It is a choice-driven narrative strategy game in which you'll guide alien civilizations that can thrive or simply survive through the ages, picking up radio signals from distant stars and finally making contact with one another by exploring the furthest corners of the galaxy. Can you tell I'm reading from a press kit? It's considered a galactic god game where you play as a galactic gardener, and instead of just taking care of one civilization, you can guide up to 10. Every choice apparently matters. This ends up being kind of like a choose your own adventure on a galactic scale, with many unique species from deep sea creatures, sapient plant beings, and there's even some hairless mammals called humans that you could end up with. Or, you know, dinosaurs. That's a thing too. Spacefaring dinosaurs. Yeah. There's about 400 different events that could happen, and they can either help develop or trash your civilization. And there's also distinctive societies that can develop, and no new game is the same. You can see I've already played a little bit here. Let me close the press kit, making sure everything's recording good. Yeah, hopefully when we start a new game here, we'll be moderately functional. But I'm going to see if I can get the intro movie to play again for you, and if it does, I'll just be quiet through it. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in game.
Are we really alone in the galaxy? Infinite stars surround our world, and aeons ago, intelligent life must have emerged somewhere and slowly evolved into a spacefaring society. Like us, surely these beings would have been drawn to explore. So then, where is everyone? Is it simply the nature of intelligent life to destroy? And maybe the only signs of life they're able to send are in a brief window before that world perishes. Still, no one has come, and no radio signals can be detected across our silent galaxy. Could civilizations ever cross thousands of light years and find more than alien graves? Maybe it's just pure luck that greed or catastrophe have not yet ended our species. Can we make the right choices? Might we learn from our mistakes? Will you overcome the Fermi paradox? The Fermi paradox.
Alright, so looks like I wasn't able to get the intro game, or the intro movie to play, so I'll probably try to figure that out after I'm done recording, and you guys will have seen it if I could. Otherwise, you know, it's just basically somebody explaining that there has to be life somewhere in the galaxy, basically. But yeah, anyways, this is our game screen. It's nothing super exciting. You click on these to fluctuation in the chemistry of the Glia's seas oceans lead to changes in watercolor. Synthesis is basically our god power. This is the music. I don't know if hopefully you guys can hear it. I'll boost it here and let you listen to it for a sec. Kind of trippy. Anyways, and that changes over time. But anyways, the Glia's system has an evolution event, so we're going to look at that. Glia's system. Sapient life evolved on Glia's sea, so that's going to be our first race. We'll figure that out here in a sec. A new civilization is born. A life form on the desert planet of Glia's sea has started making simple tools and has developed a rudimentary language. but which species will form Stone Age civilization in Glia's systems? Many were increasingly of the opinion that they'd all made a big mistake in coming down from the trees in the first place, Douglas Adams says in the Hitchhiker's Guide, I believe it was. But here is the meat and potatoes. Gliese is a red dwarf star orbiting a desert planet, Gliese C, and various rocky planets. The iron oxide in the atmosphere gives the rocky desert a distinct reddish color. All animals on the planet's surface carry additional water reservoirs and specialized organs so they can survive in the desert. Huge hypersaline lakes divide the land regions, and between their salt crystal shores, a vast forest of transparent flower trees are flourishing. So anyways, these are our 3 potential races here. We'll look at them each individually. I don't think clicking on them is a bad... No, I have to click play to go with it. So anyways, we could go with the prune, which are peaceful observers. Gentle herds of 4-eyed horse-like humanoids roam the wide rock deserts. So from this, I get a bonus on everything. This is, I think this is like technology. This is basically whether you're warlike or you live in a nirvana, I think. We'll get over these, but basically they start with less population as the one downside here. This is peace, and I think this is just like their development. I can't remember exactly. But anyways, or we could go with the Rao. They're aggressive and solitary. They're naturally armored and inhabit the barren wastelands. They get no pluses or minuses. Or we could go with these bird snake men things called the Kar, or Ka'ar perhaps. Always hungry and merciless, these nightmarish avian creatures rule the sky. And with them, you can see they have negatives in everything, but more population. Now, the main thing to pay attention to for your first race is these numbers here. So to get a balanced species, they're more likely to survive, obviously, but it's going to take 30 of your god powers, which means you might not be able to thwart potential issues that come up, should they come up. This one, obviously, does nothing. This one gives you extra, but that's because you're probably going to have to hold these guys' hands a lot, because they start in a really, well, frankly, shitty position. Now, I've always been partial to these guys, because they're kind of cool, and they, you know, they're just like little bugmins. But these guys are like the poster children of the game, and we want to start with a balanced species because we don't know how long till the next one develops. So I'm probably gonna go with them. You guys can yell at me in the comments if I didn't pick your favorite out of the 3. But here we go. So yeah, they got a technology age. This is their population. This is their resource level. So as you can see, they're going to run out in 26.5 thousand years. As the population goes up, that number will, the estimate will adjust. This is peace versus like warlike, and this is like their ethics, whether they live in a utopia or a dystopian society, kind of how happy they are. Basically, if there's a war right now, this would be the casualties. That's just to pay attention to later. Now, when I click these, it's just extra synthesis. You can see it says paused. I have to actually collect one of these to continue. On Gliese C, the prudent civilization is born. Now these ones, you can see this one is going to have an impact on the resources. This one's going to have an impact on the population. This one's just normal, so we'll take the normal one. An influential prudent leader rises to power. Now there's a development event. So we're going to go in there. Knowledge in Gliese. The tribes of the Prune tend to be led by sages and wise folk because their historical knowledge and their connection to spirit and the lands of Gliese C are seen as vital qualities. Motivated by a desire to perpetuate the sacred dance of life for many generations beyond their own, these leaders observe, reflect, and make decisions based on experiential wisdom and unwavering intuition. Quote being, the elders of the many coasts were irritated after the Blue Scale tribe chose to promote their Songwalker as chieftain over their strongest warrior mother. Years later, every second Tega and many coasts wore blue scales without a single drop of blood having been spilled. And this is obviously just something made up by the writers, but it's kind of interesting. It adds a little bit of context. Alright, so basically from that we get to make a decision here. So we can make that decision a pillar of our civilization. The wise leaders persistently lead their people towards harmony, enriching their lives by awakening consciousness and celebrating diversity. Or we could just make it so that they develop it, but they don't really focus on it. With a keen understanding of prudent nature and past events, the wise tribal leaders calmly sidestep the destructive paths of their predecessors or that the predecessors may have followed out of fear or uncertainty, or we could just make it so that it doesn't lead to anything. These stories and stuff lead to absolutely nothing. Some of the mysterious sages turn out to be utter fakes and are quickly replaced with more practical-minded leaders. To gain the people's trust, subsequent chiefs distance themselves from spiritual practices, thus closing the doors to ancient wisdom. So, basically, this means we get nothing, but we also get nothing. This one, if we wanted to make it super important, we get a lot of technology points, but we lose a lot of synthesis. Or we could just let them kind of lean on it slightly. We don't get anything, but we at least get technology. And I think that's what I'm going to go with, because personally, I think you need to learn from your past anyways. So, we're going to go with that. Now, this is random what happens. This one's just synthesis points. This one loses you population. We'll check the random one. The sun will go dark if we fail to make sacrifices to the gods. That's not things that I want you to think. We're going to go with this because it gets us from resources. A depleted land region on Glia's Sea recovers under the care of prune planters. Alright, we can make our ethics go down, but I think we like our ethics where we're at, so we're just going to click that one. I should be able, or I should mention, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. You can go back out to the galaxy map and just kind of like play around out here. You can see this is our civilization. You can see prune sage herds, and we have just about 10,000. If I play around out here, I have a chance to get another race, but it's not super likely until you develop the other one. I'm not really reading these tooltips because they're just kind of flavor text. And plus, like, your game will pause and this will happen anyways when your race needs your attention. So we'll go back in there. Enlightenment in Gliese. Okay. The mirages of the desert are seen as divine visions, a sign from the gods. A new religious practice begins of interpreting the mirages and using them to gain insight into the thoughts and feelings of the viewer. All know to ignore the mirages of the desert. Few are able to ignore the mirages in their own heart. Which is some deep knowledge bullshit. Okay. We can make that a pillar where the prune tap deep into their subconscious by interpreting the mirages of the desert. They gain a new understanding of their own souls. Make them super religious and such, but it gets them a lot of ethics. Or they could just develop it slightly. A caste of mirage seers emerges. Only they have the proper training and discipline to find insight into the shifting visions. Again, gain a little bit. Or I could say it's a dead end and we gain synthesis, but troubled prune begin following the images into the desert, searching for enlightenment. Most only find death. So it doesn't say it, but I feel like that would mess with our population a little bit down the line. I honestly don't mind. I feel like these guys being super spiritual is kind of an interesting idea, and I like to have my ethics super far up. So let's try that. What's the worst that could happen? We gain like 20 Utopia points there, so that's good. And let's just click a couple of these randomly. Alright, we reached a new tech age. Copper age. The prune learned to mine copper, using it to create precise metal tools. These tools make it possible to expand the reach of natural oases using new irrigation and water recapture techniques. Meanwhile, wise folks begin to study the stars above Glia's Sea, charting their course in great patterns drawn in the desert sands. The last Shoshonan died on our homeworld several millennia ago. We no longer have records from this time, but several excellent examples of copper jewelry were found preserved between the desert sands. As you can see, now our dude is wearing like some shaman clothes, and that might have the clothing might change depending on some choices you made, but I have no reason to know that. I actually have no idea. I know different technology ages quite often change the outfit on your dude, but right now we've just got these like tribal guys. I don't know how you can see out your fourth eye there, but anyway, so our guys can go after wisdom for lack of losing some synthesis points, but I don't really have enough to spare, so we're going to ignore that one. Advancement. The rare flora in the desert is carefully cultivated to serve prune. More nutritious, more drought-resistant varieties are bred over the decades, so that'll give us more more resources and more population, which is good. Or war caravans and domesticated beasts become an integral part of early armies. Well, we don't want armies. We're trying to make a peace-loving race because flowers and shit. So we're going to go in the middle one, and then just click on some stuff here. There's no way to speed up the game. So this is a patience and like just a, as I said, you're going to be it's a choose your own adventure. You want to see the end, you're going to have to play through it. Vex system evolution event. So here we go. Sapient life evolved on Vexus. A life form on the garden planet Vexus has started making simple tools and developing a rudimentary language, but which species will form? Another civilization is born. You'll have to foster these creatures too, guide them in a parallel and the other civilizations in a galaxy, and one day they might make contact. Synthesis may be used to help any society. Sometimes you'll have to make hard choices for the survival of everybody. So I could go with the balanced guys. I actually can't because I don't have enough stuff, but that would be the Orbori, four-legged herbivores that are attuned to echoes and vibrations from very far distances. Be kind of neat looking. I've played with these guys before, they're kind of neat. The Botir, intelligent rock climbing plants. The Botir clump together on high cliffs competing for sun exposure. Or these guys, the Damanes. The Damanes? I'm going to go with Damanes. Roaming the low atmosphere plateaus of Vexus, these stalkers prey on canyon fauna and drain their blood. So we got vampiric, six-armed ghoulie men. But honestly, we need some synthesis points, and I've already played with these guys before. I want these guys, but I can't have them, so we're going to go with these guys. And if they become extinct, I don't care that much. Damanes, here we go. On Vexus, the Damanes are civilized or whatever. Things happen. So we only start with about 2 million of them and a lot of resource scarcity. But they start in a dystopia, obviously, because they have no resources. Paradigm shift in Gliese. With establishment of the first city-states, enlightened thinkers argue that their governance should be given to philosopher monarchs. These benevolent leaders with absolute power should rule the state like a skilled and professional captain commands a ship sailing the sea regions of Gliese Sea. They posit that, in order to reach the tranquil waters of peace and prosperity, wise navigator, I'm starting to fall asleep apparently, must interpret the ethical star map of the prudent to follow. Until political power and philosophy entirely coincide, cities will have no rest from evils. Socrates. Alright, so I can have them ascend in culture, establishing philosophical monarchs, inspiring them to become philosophers, and challenge the absolute power of the rulers. Or just the new form of governance inspires many prune settlements to form their own expanding city-states, but the ideas and ideals behind the philosopher monarchs are quickly lost, so I lose resources, gain population, which might be fine for these guys. Or the rising city-states are seen as a threat to neighboring sage territories whose sage rulers rally desert archers and war caravans to overthrow. Dun dun dun! Now we're gonna just go with expansion, because I don't think that's worth synthesis, but I don't want these guys to go down into the war path just yet. So let's back out here. So our guys are actually relatively close together. That's not too bad. Neither of them has any knowledge of each other, obviously. They're both relatively stone-aged. But you can see these guys are slightly more developed because their first star is a little bit more colored in. This map gets a little bit more interesting and interactive when you actually have ships flying around it, but that's not for a little while yet. It took me several hours of playing this, and honestly, I have fun with games like this because maybe I have a god complex, or I don't know. Alright, these guys are developing something. Oh, extinction. That's not great. A massive asteroid breaks apart when entering the atmosphere. Fire rains down from the sky and threatens to destroy the entire garden planet. Each time he threw the stone, it returned to him, and as he kept going along, everywhere behind him a fire was burning the whole world. The mischief done, Snipe tried to save himself and escaped from the burning world. So that's not great. I'm going to have to spend some synthesis to save these guys, probably. I can make it a close call where nothing happens. The asteroid disintegrates into tiny fragments. Fire from the sky looks terrifying, but it's harmless. I can make minimal survivors, where I lose literally all but about 100,000. Most camps burn to death as a hemisphere is engulfed in flames. A handful of Damanes on the other side of the Vexus are able to rebuild society. It's gonna really screw us up. Like, our resources are gonna be great for a little while, but our population is obviously gonna be butt. Peace is gonna be fine though. Or I could just let these guys die, for some extra synthesis. I think I might spend some synthesis here to just let it be a close call. Even though I don't like these guys necessarily as much, I'm not ready for them to die just yet. And honestly, 20 is not too bad right now. A probably just go for a couple more events here, and then we'll call that. So you guys can go and check it out for yourself. Alright, population increase for the prune. Basically, these bubbles, it doesn't really matter where they are, but if you have like an event one, like that population one, was close here, I knew it was for them, so it would be an increase for them. Just like if you have a bad one near this one, for example, it would be bad for them. Oh, development event for the prune. Depopulation, that's not great. First major settlements of the prune are constructed from very flammable materials. Accidents and lightning strikes cause a series of disastrous city fires. Igni natura renovatura integra. Through fire, nature is reborn whole. I probably pronounced that horrible, but, you know, if you can read Latin, what are you doing watching my videos? Okay, so prevention. After the first city fires, the prune abandoned flammable materials in favor of stone. So they live in stone. Or... Prune organize early fire squads and adopt fire prevention methods. Still, their population numbers fall for each settlement that's burnt down. So I lose a little bit, but I also lose a little bit of that. Instead of fighting fires, Prune rebuild their settlements as fast as possible using even more flammable and dangerous materials. This haphazard circle of incineration costs many lives, but I gain a little bit of synthesis. I think we're just going to prevent that because it's the most balanced, nothing happens scenario, and I don't want to mess around. Now, if you're stingy with me, you'll always have at least a little bit of synthesis, but later on in the game, you could have, like, my prune, for example, could have the same kind of issue with fire raining from the sky that the Damani did, but it'll cost, like, 100 synthesis to save them. So, like, it seems like I'm having an easy time now, but later on, you're going to have to make some tough decisions. I had a spacefaring race. They were literally flying between planets, and their entire planet vaporized behind them, pretty much. I say that, but like the planet was still there, but there was literally no territories there. All right, so these guys are developing. They got power apparently. The Damani develops many clans, or as Damani develops, many clans manage to defend their place in the world only through the force of arms. Over time, they come to adopt a strict warrior code, believing that true honor and nobility can only be earned through acts of battle. How sweet and fitting it is to die for one's country. Alright, so I can prevent that, and warrior tradition becomes associated with a newly discovered shrub in its spiritual symbol, which when consumed decreases the aggravation of fighters. Or, warrior code becomes the standard for order and discipline. Or, the warrior code becomes the bedrock of their life. I don't feel like they're paying me enough for that, but I don't feel like these guys are worth spending money on. So we'll just go with regular development. They can just do their thing. They can be warriors all they want. These guys, as you can see, they're taking a lot longer to increase their technology level. Well, that's because, as you can see, they're... Basically, you need population to get tech. You need, you know... Basically, these kind of all contribute to this. So the fact that this is these are all low makes this tick up really slow, like. And the technology level is, theoretically, the most important one. Alright, new technology age for these guys. Speaking of, they reached the glass age. New techniques are discovered to create a special form of hardened glass that we can use for a variety of uses. More advanced tools, simple machinery, and even weapons are made from this new material. Soon, great cities begin to rise among the endless dunes of Glia's sea. Those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Yeah. Alright, so, wisdom. Astronomers use the new glass to create the first telescopes. Meanwhile, artists create impressive kinetic sculptures that move hypnotically in the desert winds. That sounds kind of cool, I like that. Or, great glass foundries allowed the prune to build higher and more quickly. Small settlements grow into glittering cities, each a bustling hive of life in the vast barren desert. Also sounds kind of neat. That gives us resources and people, though. So far, that's wisdom's still winning out. Glass-reinforced fortresses necessitate the invention of siege warfare. Fired from higher walls, splinter launchers cut down countless desert archers and their war beasts. I think we like this. Just the glass sculpture sounds kind of neat. And let's grab one of them. These guys can have some peace and love and such. Because I think they're still, they're still very dystopian. Oh, you have some technology. None of those, thanks. Regal system. This will be our third race, and I think I'll probably call it after that. you guys want to see more of this, though, make sure you let me know in the comments or in stream. I can always play it on stream if you want. A life form on the ice planet Rigel 7 has started making simple tools and has developed a rudimentary language. Yeah, so I think this is the same write-up every time. But what do we got here? So it's a blue supergiant star orbited by the ice planet Rigel 7 and 3 smaller stars in proximity. The chemical composition of the ice crystals on Rigel 7 gives the polar caps a greenish color. For an ice planet, it has rich diversity of resilient flora. Every animal on the planet develops some kind of fur, even the ocean fish and bird species. Alright, so we got the Esh, a rational species of furry fish creatures with very complex swarm behavior, but they cost a lot. Or we could go with the Kular, aggressive humanoid pig creatures wandering the ice plains primarily to compete with others of their kin. Or the Dorloth, sentient and resilient plants. They dwell deep under the ice, rise at nightfall to wander the surface and feed on other organisms for nutrients. These guys are kind of neat looking. I think I might go with them because of the extra synthesis, but if you guys want to know what happens to all these guys, or you are interested more in this series, like I said, let me know and we can stream it or we can make more videos on it. But until next time, guys, see what these guys want. And then I'll let you guys go. At the confluence of the 3 rivers, the Demanis find an uninhabited valley with plenty of luscious food and without any competition or predators. They can settle and grow in peace here. Sounds like a plan, right? What's the downside? Make it a pillar. Valley feeds the Demanis for generations. They find many more valleys like this on Vexus. Or abundant food sources of the valley let the Demani population grow and thrive. Or they pollute the rivers and everything starts to shrivel and rot. Sounds about right for them, but we'll let them grow a fair bit. And we'll give them a little bit more peace. Anyways, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this. It is an interesting game. I will put on screen what it's worth if I can find the price. And yeah, it is in early access, but it's kind of an interesting thought experiment anyways. But we will see you guys in the next video. Bye.